Hello you guys and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be another Reddit no sleep story. This one is called My Family Has a Curse. On every generation a woman dies at 18. I think I have actually heard this story or read this story. It is written by polonium poisoning. I definitely butchered that name, but that is who wrote it, so I hope you guys can find it. Just Google My Family Has a Curse. On every generation a woman dies at 18 on Google. Search that on Google and you will definitely be able to find it. So let's just go right into this video. Okay, this one is a little bit longer and it has like a warning, I guess you can call it, that it will contain sexual violence. So if that triggers you, then this might not be the video for you. When my older sister turned 19, my parents started looking at me with the deepest pity and grief I have ever seen, like I was going to crumble and disappear at any moment. I was 16 and listening to music in my bedroom when my mother came to me with a beautiful portrait in her hand. It was my great-grandmother, Eleanor. Pat, you know how Eleanor used to say that when she was 18, a she-devil offered her some kind of paradise if she agreed to die immediately, right? It was a weird question. Whenever my mother had a little more to drink, she'd retell this tale over and over. She came from a long line of spiritual but pragmatic women who fought to study and to work in male-dominated fields, women who also found a good man to marry, women who had everything. But then tragedy struck in their lives and they would lose a daughter or a niece. Always. Yes, Mom, I replied, and we recited together, and she said, fuck off, I have 7 siblings to help raise. And Eleanor did. She worked her ass off to send her younger brothers and sisters to good schools, became a college teacher herself, and kept teaching every new generation of women to be strong and stand up for themselves. My mother always loved her to bits and did her best to raise her kids the way my grandmother had taught. Eleanor peacefully died of old age when I was a baby and overall lived a great, accomplished, loving life. But grief knocked on her door periodically as she had to bury a daughter and a granddaughter, both at age 18. My Aunt Cecilia died years before I was born. That took a huge toll on my mother and my other aunt, Krista. Eleanor didn't believe it was a tragic coincidence, no. She thinks that the same she-devil who invited her to go live in a better place came to claim her descendants. After Cecilia, there were no deaths. My sister and my cousins have all crossed the line to 19 and none of them reported anything weird happening to them. I'm the only female in my family who is still 18. Despite the fact that I always admired Eleanor, I confess that I thought that she was being superstitious or even mocking us, so she was known for her savage sense of humor. So this conversation I had with my mother had been completely brushed from my mind. Today, a gorgeous, magnificent woman approached me. I am a part-timer at a frozen yogurt joint. As you might expect, the small store was empty. The little bell on the door rang and I raised my eyes to meet a stunning, elegant woman who seemed to be on her early 30s. She was wearing a simple and unassuming dress, but the fit was flattering. It was impossible to take your eyes off of her. Hello, Patricia. Her voice was velvety. I see Eleanor's granddaughter told you about me. I forgot how to breathe for a while. She was just God. I'd considered myself straight up until this point, but then I had found a woman that I both wanted to be like and have for myself. Come on, get yourself some froyo on me. Mine will be salted caramel and strawberry if you please. I mechanically filled 2 little cups as she graciously sat. I stared at her intently. When you see Krista, tell her to see a doctor about the persistent headache. Unpleasant surprise on the way, she said very casually. So tell me about you, Pat. Don't you know all about me already? I asked. She smiled kindly, but the warmth never reached her violent eyes. It wasn't like they were cold, but they were neutral and incredibly sharp. I know everything there is to know about everyone on your little planet, darling, but I'd still like to hear your version. I'm not actually interesting, you know. I am only okay at everything. My sister is brilliant and she's pretty too. Well, while I'm too average and not sure what I want to major in. She smiled so brilliantly. She smiled so brightly, I thought I was gonna go blind. Don't you want to be a part of something bigger and easier? She asked. I'll offer you a great deal, the same one I offered your ancestor Eleanor, her daughter Bettina, and your aunt Cecilia. You know the results. I'm listening, I said. I don't know the circumstances of their deaths, but I know that both Bettina and Cecilia took the offer. Well, take a look around the world you live in. You're young, but old enough to know. Do you feel safe walking the streets? Isn't this world rotten? Sure, you can say there are good people, people that mind their own business at least, but the rotten apples always spoil the whole barrel. And lately you mortals have seen that happening. A lot of people you used to deem good, huh? I don't feel safe. 2 of my friends have been assaulted. I admit sometimes I'm scared to leave my bed, I replied. Still, I'd feel so bad about how my mother would miss me. She smiled. You're a good girl, Patricia. I'm Lilith. By the way, she grabbed my hands. Let me tell you something, although I'm sure you already know this in your heart. All the women in your family are fit for this deal, but I have to choose only one. I chose you because you won't be missed as much. Savage. I recoiled, feeling hurt, but I knew that Lilith wasn't lying. There was a spark of compassion in her eyes, too. It's not that you're not loved, it's just that your cousins and your sister are so much better than me in every sense. I know I panic easily. I don't trust my own decisions, and I don't have any special talent. Sometimes my life feels like such a waste. It's not, dear, it's not, because you were born for something greater than these girls you deem better than yourself. They are fit for this world. You are fit for utopia. What's the utopia? It's everything there is out there, the only eternal life in the universe offered to a select few. All the great people on earth are nothing but a heartbeat. They will fade to nothing, like all the unassuming lives. So you mean there's no heaven and hell? And what about God? Oh, God exists. God created things. God created great things. Imperfect, inferior beings like you humans are just the collateral damage of his masterpieces, the residuum of the creation. He never even turned his face to you or batted an eyelash when we told him our plan. Lucifer and I see potential in you. Well, some of you. Most are truly garbage. I was utterly amazed. Why do you only take young women? She smiled. That's a great question. Lucifer likes to collect men in their 40s so he can laugh at their moral dilemmas. How will my family live without me, the great provider? What if Karen marries another man and Cody turns gay because he didn't have a masculine figure? She did a great impersonation of a generic middle-aged man, but I take my girls while they are still beautiful and not completely tired of how unfair this world is to them. I don't want the morons in your society to make you forget what Eleanor taught you. She knew there would be only nothingness out there after she died, but she opted to stay and take care of her loved ones. It was a bold, admirable choice, and I decided to reward her for it. She was the only one I have ever approached to refuse. So you can't both live a great life here and go to this place you call utopia? I asked. Oh, one usually can't have it all. No. But I picked 2 or 3 of those, like Marilyn and Cleo. They were almost 40, but still young at heart and completely unfazed by how the world tried to break them. You have to admire that. How is that utopia? Will I like it? Lilith snapped her fingers. The walls and furniture around us and even the street across the door started to fold and fold and fold, like the reality was only a 3D draft, until they became minuscule pieces of cardboard and then they fell into the infinity under us. We were now surrounded by a stunning, futuristic place. There was no sense of feeling cold or hungry. We could move by floating around as we pleased. And there was amazing buildings everywhere, decorated with statues of pure white marble and paintings so beautiful I wanted to cry. I could see colors I never imagined possible, and the sky was always a warm shade of blue, but dotted with stars and an immense full moon. Everything was shiny, symmetrical, and felt right, peaceful, but far from boring, a perfect ordered chaos. This place is constantly expanding, so you'll always find new things to do. You'll never live another tedious day. She snapped her fingers again, and everything unfolded and rolled back into place. And if I accept your offer, which I will, can I choose the way I die and do something first? Oh, you have a few days to deal with all your stuff. I'm not a monster, you know. The she-devil smiled again. Great, I said. There's only one thing I need to do before I go with you. I want to kill the man who raped my best friend. Lilith agreed to allow me to do it, and we talked some more before she left. And that's all I can remember clearly. The rest of the day was a blur. Knowing that I would die, I wanted to quit my dead-end job immediately, but I had no one to quit to, and I couldn't leave the store unattended, so I stayed surrounded by weird ice cream, thinking about what awaited me. The she-devil told me I couldn't tell anyone I was about to die, but I was allowed to discreetly say my goodbyes. My family was really nice and had taught me a lot, and I had valuable friends, but none of that was reason enough to refuse an eternal life of happiness where I could even be friends with Cleopatra and Marilyn Monroe. I spent some quality time with my loved ones, then 2 days later took my mom's handgun and headed to see the one who hurt and destroyed my beloved friend both physically and mentally. I won't describe the details of the torture I put him through. I'll just say that I only stopped when it seemed to me that he went through at least 10 times what he made her endure, and then I killed him. Oh shit, was my only reaction as I realized that punishing this disgusting man felt even better and even more right than living in a perfect utopia. It feels like I finally found my purpose. If this world is all that there is, the only thing we can do is enjoy it. And we'll only be able to enjoy it if we cleanse it. I decided to take this mission upon myself. But there's only one problem. I already agreed with dying tomorrow. I signed the contract, and now I'm terrified of what Lilith will do to me when I tell her I changed my mind. This, I feel, is so lifelike. Like, I know people could make deals with the devil. This is so lifelike and so well written. So, wow, that one definitely very freaky. I'm glad that is not a tradition in my family. I am 22. Nobody has ever come to me and offered me utopia. Yeah, so I guess that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be posting every single day in the month of October, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.